Tim Burton's The Corpse Bride is without question one of the most hauntingly beautiful and unforgettable stop-motion films ever made. It holds a special place in my heart and the hearts of many others all over the world, standing as one of my top 3 stop-motion films of all time. There is something truly magical and deeply resonant about this film that elevates it beyond the mere label of Gothic fantasy. To me, it is not just a dark tale, it is a cinematic experience that captures the essence of love, loss and redemption, all wrapped up in a visually stunning package that only Tim Burton could deliver. And while I greatly admire many other of Tim Burton's works, Edward Scissorhands, Beetlejuice, and even The Nightmare Before Christmas, none of them captivate me quite like The Corpse Bride. In my view, this film is not only Tim Burton's best, but also his most enjoyable creation, a true masterpiece that stands as the pinnacle of his long and storied, albeit very odd career. Released in 2005, almost 20 years ago, The Corpse Bride is an extraordinary film that showcases Tim Burton's unparalleled ability to craft rich, emotionally complex narratives set within a distinctively Gothic world. The story follows Victor Van Dort, a shy and awkward young man who, through a series of events, accidentally marries Emily, the titular Corpse Bride. In the land of the dead, or as Victor navigates this surreal and enchanting world, the audience is drawn into a tale filled with sorrow, humor and love, and ultimately profound self-discovery. The beauty of The Corpse Bride lies not only in its darkly romantic storyline, but also in its breathtaking stop-motion animation, emotionally resonant themes, and the way it effortlessly balances both melancholy and whimsy. This video will delve into what makes The Corpse Bride such a phenomenal film, why it holds a permanent spot in my top 3 stop-motion films, and why, in my opinion, represents the absolute best of Tim Burton's work. At the core of The Corpse Bride lies an exquisitely crafted narrative that is as deeply emotional as it is thematically rich. From the moment Victor Van Dort stumbles through the eerie woods and unknowingly marries Emily, the tragic yet endearing and rather beautiful corpse bride, the film sets the stage for a story that is both darkly whimsical and profoundly moving. Burton takes what could have been a simple love triangle and imbues it with an emotional complexity, exploring not just romantic love, but also the heartbreak that accompanies loss, unfulfilled dreams, and the weight of choices we make in life. For me, this story is what makes The Corpse Bride so timeless. It's not just about ghosts and skeletons and other Halloween-themed events or characters, it is about the delicate and fragile nature of love itself. The character of Emily is perhaps the film's most tragic and beautiful figure. Once alive and full of hope, she was cruelly murdered before she could experience the joys of marriage and love. Her journey throughout the film, from a vengeful spirit to a figure of deep empathy and grace, is incredibly powerful. It is impossible not to feel for her as she watches Victor, the man she unintentionally wed, struggle between his duty to her and his budding affection for his living fiancée Victoria. The film handles this complex emotional dynamic with subtlety, never devolving into melodrama but instead giving each character space to grow and find their own resolution. The film's brilliance of The Corpse Bride lies in how it portrays these relationships in a way that feels genuine and deeply resonant. Victor, despite his initial bumbling awkwardness, grows throughout the film, learning not only about love but about sacrifice and the courage it takes to make difficult choices. His connection to both Emily and Victoria is sincere, and the way Burton contrasts the living and the dead adds even more weight to these relationships. Victoria, though not as otherworldly as Emily, is portrayed with a quiet strength and resilience that makes her an equally compelling female protagonist. What truly moves me about this story is the way it handles its conclusion. Emily's final act of selflessness, choosing to let Victor go and allow him to return to the world of the living, is both heartbreaking and uplifting. Her release of Victor is not just a gesture of love, but a moment of personal redemption, a realization that she cannot cling to the past, no matter how tragic her own story might be. For me, this moment elevates The Corpse Bride beyond its gothic and fantastical elements, turning it into a deeply human story about love, sacrifice, and the importance of finding peace. It is a beautiful, bittersweet ending that lingers long after the film is over, and it is one of the many reasons this film, at least in my opinion, is Burton's most emotionally affecting work. One of the things that draws me back to The Corpse Bride time and time again, or whenever the mood strikes, is its stunningly realized Gothic world. Tim Burton's signature visual style has always leaned more to the macabre and the whimsical, but in The Corpse Bride this aesthetic is taken to all new heights. Every frame of the film feels like a meticulously crafted painting, rich with detail and dripping with atmosphere. Burton's use of contrast between the land of the living and the land of the dead is not only visually striking but thematically resonant, a masterstroke of visual storytelling that enhances this film's emotional depth. In the world of the living, everything is cold, grey and stiff, reflecting the rigid societal norms and expectations that Victor and Victoria are trapped within. The Van Dort mansion, with its towering, shadowy architecture, feels as though it's closing in on its inhabitants, mirroring Victor's own sense of entrapment. The Everglot home, where Victoria resides, is no less oppressive, filled with dark corners and suffocating decor. The contrast between these drab settings and the vibrant, chaotic world of the dead is stark and deliberate. While the living world is bound by rules and obligations, the land of the dead is full of colour, energy and life, ironically more alive than the world of the living. This inversion of expectations is one of the film's most striking visual and thematic achievements. The land of the dead, despite its inhabitants being skeletons and ghosts and other creepy ghouly things, is a place of freedom and celebration. The bright colours, lively music and spirited personalities of the dead are a direct contrast to the dreary, joyless existence of the living characters. For me, this visual contrast perfectly encapsulates one of the film's central themes, the idea that life bound by societal expectations can often feel more confining than death, where characters are finally free to be themselves. It is a powerful subtext that adds layers of meaning to what might otherwise be a simple ghost story. Burton's character designs also contribute to the film's richly Gothic atmosphere. Victor's tall, lanky frame and wide, nervous eyes capture his awkwardness and insecurity, while Victoria's delicate, almost ethereal beauty reflects her gentle spirit. But it is Emily, the corpse bride herself, who steals the show. Her tattered wedding dress, pale skin and skeletal frame are a stunning juxtaposition of beauty and decay. Every detail of her design, from the delicate flowers in her hair to the exposed bones of her arm, is a testament to the artistry behind this film. Emily's appearance is haunting, but there is a tragic beauty to her that makes her one of Burton's most memorable and visually striking and ethereally beautiful characters. It is this combination of Gothic design, rich textures, and careful attention to detail that makes The Corpse Bride such a visually arresting film. Every scene feels like a dark fairy tale come to life, and the film's aesthetic perfectly complement its emotional and thematic depth. For me, no other Burton film captures his signature style so perfectly, which is why The Corpse Bride remains his most visually satisfying and immersive work. As someone who deeply loves stop-motion animation, I can't help but marvel at the artistry and technical mastery on display in The Corpse Bride. Stop-motion is a labor-intensive medium that requires an extraordinary amount of precision and care, and the results, when done well, are nothing short of magical. Of all the stop-motion films I've seen, The Corpse Bride ranks among the very best. The sheer craftsmanship that went into bringing the characters and world to life, even if some of them are undead, is breathtaking, and it is one of the key reasons why this film holds such a high place in mine and many others' list of favorites. What makes stop motion so special, in my opinion, is its tactile, almost handmade quality. Every puppet, every set, every movement is crafted by hand, and that physicality comes through on screen in a way that CGI or even traditional 2D animation simply cannot replicate. In The Corpse Bride, this craftsmanship is on full display. The characters move with a fluidity and grace that is astounding, considering the painstaking process involved in stop-motion animation. Victor's nervous fidgeting, Emily's eerie yet graceful walk, and even the lively dances of the skeletal characters all feel organic, as if these puppets were living, breathing beings. The attention to detail in the animation is truly remarkable. Every tiny movement, from the flicker of a candle to the flutter of Emily's veil, is carefully controlled to create a seamless, immersive experience. What sets The Corpse Bride apart from other stop-motion films, however, is not just the technical skill involved, but the emotional depth in which the animators manage to convey through their characters. The subtle shifts in facial expressions, the small gestures of affection or sorrow, all contribute to making these characters feel incredibly real and relatable. And in my opinion, the use of stop motion also enhances this film's gothic atmosphere and feeling. There is something inherently eerie about the jerky, almost otherworldly movement of stop motion characters, and in The Corpse Bride, this technique is used to great effect. The animation gives the film an old world storybook quality, perfectly complementing its dark fairy tale narrative. Burton's decision to use stop motion rather than CGI or traditional 2D animation was a stroke of genius, as it adds a layer of authenticity and charm to the film that would have been lost in another medium. For me, the magic of stop motion lies in its ability to make the impossible feel tangible. In The Corpse Bride, Burton and his team of animators have created a world that is both fantastical and grounded, filled with characters who, despite their skeletal frames and ghostly appearances, feel profoundly human and alive. It is this combination of technical, mastery, and emotional depth that makes The Corpse Bride one of the finest stop-motion films ever made and solidifies its place as one of my all-time favorites. No discussion of The Corpse Bride would be complete without acknowledging the incredible contribution that Danny Elfman's hauntingly beautiful score adds to this film. As Burton's longtime collaborator, Elfman has scored many of his films, but in The Corpse Bride, he reaches new heights of emotional and musical complexity. For me, Elfman's score is one of the most defining aspects of the film. It's an essential part to the experience as the visuals and the story themselves. Elfman's music captures the film's gothic tone perfectly, blending eerie, haunting melodies with moments of whimsical playfulness. The opening sequence, with its somber, piano-driven theme, sets the tone for the entire film, creating a sense of melancholy that lingers throughout. As the film progresses, Elfman's score shifts between the dark, mournful tones of the living world and the lively, upbeat rhythms of the land of the dead. This musical contrast mirrors the film's visual contrast, enhancing the emotional divide between the two worlds. One of the standout moments of the film's score is the Remains of the Day sequence, a lively jazz-infused number performed by the skeleton characters in the Land of the Dead. This song, with its playful macabre lyrics and infectious energy, is a perfect example of Elfman's ability to blend the macabre with the magical. It is a moment of pure joy and exuberance in the film, injecting a sense of fun and energy into the film that provides a sharp contrast to the more somber moments. These musical interludes aren't just entertaining, they add depth to the characters and the story, further enriching this film's emotional landscape. Elfman's score also plays a pivotal role in the emotional climax of this film. As Emily makes her final decision to let Victor go, the music swells with a bittersweet beauty, capturing the emotional weight of the moment. The haunting melody that accompanies Emily's transformation from a vengeful spirit to a redeemed soul adds a layer of poignancy that makes this scene one of the most unforgettable in the entire film. Elfman's music is, in many ways, the emotional heartbeat of The Corpse Bride, guiding the audience through the film's dark yet beautiful world with grace, elegance, and sensitivity. The Corpse Bride is far more than just another entry into Tim Burton's already impressive filmography. It stands as a hauntingly beautiful, emotionally resonant masterpiece that perfectly encapsulates everything that makes Tim Burton such a singular filmmaker. For me, it's not one of the best stop-motion film ever created, but also Tim Burton's finest work, showcasing his ability to blend the dark with the whimsical and the deeply emotional in a way that no other filmmaker can quite replicate. And as much as I appreciate Tim Burton's other films, none of them resonate with me the way The Corpse Bride does. It's a film that I can watch again and again, and each time I find something new to love and appreciate. The film's gothic visual style, rich with detail and atmosphere, is one of its greatest strengths. Burton's ability to create a world that feels both eerie and enchanting, cold and vibrant, is unmatched, and the contrast between the land of the living and the land of the dead is a masterstroke in visual storytelling. This is a film that feels both timeless and wholly unique, a testament to the power of stop-motion animation and the artistry behind it. Ultimately, The Corpse Bride is a film that transcends its gothic trappings. It is a story about love, loss and redemption, and the power of self-sacrifice, themes that are universal and timeless. Emily's journey in particular is one of the most beautiful and moving arcs I have ever seen in a film, regardless of it being 2D, stop motion or live action. Her final act of letting Victor go is not only a moment of profound personal growth, but also a deeply moving act of love that brings the film to a bittersweet yet ultimately satisfying conclusion. For all these reasons, and I'm sure many others, The Corpse Bride remains, in my opinion, Tim Burton's most enjoyable and accomplished film. It is a masterpiece of stop-motion animation, a beautifully told story, and a film that will continue to resonate with audiences and myself for generations to come. Whether you're a fan of gothic cinema, stop-motion animation, or simply just great storytelling, The Corpse Bride is a film that should not be missed. It is a timeless classic that stands as a shining example of what can be achieved when a filmmaker like Burton is at the top of his game, and for me, it will always hold a special place in my heart as one of the greatest stop-motion films of all time.
Oh, I track all my love.